Hello everyone, welcome to the session on creating requirements template using ChatGPT. You might have already heard about requirement templates which we use for different business purposes. So in this session, we'll discuss creating a requirement template from a software engineering perspective. So let's get started. After going through this video, you will understand what things come under a requirement template from a software engineering perspective. And then we'll start with the requirement templates first. We'll go through a demonstration for creating it using ChatGPT and Word document together. So let's begin by understanding the requirements template. Every business requires creating some requirements template, be it a software engineering and business analysts and so on. Most of these requirement templates are already available on the internet but not free of cost. As you can see on the screen, we have functional requirements, non-functional requirements, project objective, stakeholder requirements, and so on. These are some of the topics that are always present in the requirements template. So we will learn how to create a requirement template using ChatGPT, and it won't cost you any money. So here you can see a simple basic prompt of can you give me a business requirements template to start with. So let's go to ChatGPT and run this example prompt. So you can see I have opened ChatGPT on one side and Word document on the other side. So whatever response we'll get from ChatGPT, we will be pasting it in this Word document and make some changes accordingly. So let us start with our basic prompt, which is can you give me a business requirements template? And just hit enter. So as you can see, using ChatGPT, we got a very basic template for any business requirements. So starting with the project title, then we have business objectives, scope, functional requirements, non-functional requirements, assumptions and constraints, risks and mitigation strategies, stakeholders, and so on. Now let me just paste this very basic template in the Word document and just do a little bit of cleanup. So I'll highlight this. You can delete the extra comments. So this is the basic business requirement template, but this is not as useful as we want it to be. So let us proceed with some follow-up prompts to make this template more useful. So let us ask ChatGPT to elaborate more on the functional requirements, which is our point number 4. So I'll just type in, can you please give me some examples? Functional requirements on point number 4 and just hit enter. So again, as you can see, it has given us some examples of functional requirements that we might need to include in the business requirements document. So what I'll do, I'll just copy the response and paste this under the point 4 and do some kind of formatting. I'll remove it. But these examples are not enough. So let us ask ChatGPT for more functional requirements. So I'll just type in, can you give me some more examples? So as you can see, it has started the response from number 11 as it ended with 10 points in the previous prompt. So here it starts with 11. It has given us more examples. I can just copy this response and paste it below and again do the formatting. So we have pasted these requirements in the point number 4. Let us go back to ChatGPT and now ask a follow-up prompt to write a request for login feature as well as how failed logins are covered. So let me type in the new prompt, which is, can you give me an example of the requirement that addresses the login feature and covers failed login. So you can just hit enter and see the response. So you can just copy this response, go to the template and under the login you can just paste it. Let's see. So this will come under your authentication and authorization. So let me just make space for it and enter. You can do the formatting of it. Again, this information is quite too long. Obviously, a client won't spend so much time going through such long paragraphs. So in order to shorten or summarize, we can go for the use cases. So we'll go to the ChatGPT to ask to generate a use case for it. So let's go back to the ChatGPT and type, can you write me a use case for it? So again, if you go through the response, it has given us the title, the actors, preconditions, basic flow, alternate flows, post conditions, and so on. So we can just copy this response and paste it in our login or authentication. We'll just modify or format it. Now suppose you don't want a use case but want a user story instead. So in that case, what will you do? So we can ask ChatGPT to create the user story for it. So we'll just type in and talk in a conversational manner. So I'll just write, actually, I changed my mind. Can you write me a user story format instead? Can you write this in a user story format instead? And just hit enter. So again, it has given us the response in the user story format. As you can see, as a user, I want the system to limit the number of failed login attempts and lock my account temporarily if too many attempts are made within a certain time period so that my account remains secure. There is the acceptance criteria present. So you can just copy this response and paste it. So I'll just give it a heading, user story, and paste the response. So I'll do the formatting. So as we can see, we have pasted the user story, the acceptance criteria as well. So similarly, for other requirements or features, we can create user stories like this. We'll be focusing on creating user stories using ChatGPT in our next session. So now we can see we have enough details for the functional requirements. So let us move to the next one, which is non-functional requirements. So go back to ChatGPT and just type in the prompt. Can you give me some examples of non-functional requirements? And just hit enter. So again you can see the response generated. So it has given us some of the non-functional requirements such as performance, reliability, scalability, security, accessibility, and so on. So we can just copy this response and paste it in our Word document under the non-functional requirements, which is point number 5, and just do the simple formatting. And just remove the last lines. So suppose we want further information on the point number, let's say 1, we can ask ChatGPT to do so. So the first point is performance. So let's go back to ChatGPT and ask some more examples. Can you give me some examples of number 1? So again, if you look at the response, it has given us non-functional requirements related to performance, which is point number 1. It says response time, throughput, latency, load testing, data processing, network bandwidth, and so on. So we can just copy this response and paste it under the first point, which is performance. And again, we can do the formatting of it. Now we want to know some examples for the response times. So we'll go back to ChatGPT and again write a follow-up prompt saying that, can you give me an example of response time? So as you can see, it has given us an example. I'll just copy paste this under response time and do the required formatting. So that's it. Now if we want to know the epic details of our project, we can go to ChatGPT and type in another follow-up prompt saying, can you give me the epics for this project? So as you can see the response, it has started with, as an AI language model, I do not have any specific information about the project you are referring to. However, I can provide some examples of potential epics for a software development project. So as you can see, it has not given us the exact what we have asked for, because we have also not specified we are talking about which project. So we will not paste this response, we'll just ask another follow-up prompt and we'll just try to get an elaborate answer. So I'll type in, can you give me a epic level detail for the CRM implementation just hit enter. So again, if you look at the response, we'll just copy it. It has given us the description, features, the acceptance criteria for this epic level detail. So I'll just copy it and paste it in the non-functional requirements. Let me paste it just at the end of this and just do the normal formatting. So now in our functional requirements, what if we want a verification criteria for a login feature to be added? So we can ask ChatGPT to do so. So let's go back to ChatGPT and write, can you give me the verification criteria for a login feature? So I can just copy this in the functional requirements below this. Now let us ask ChatGPT another follow-up prompt. Can you give me stronger authentication rules for credential security requirements? So again, you can see these are the stronger authentication rules according to ChatGPT, which says password complexity, and it has mentioned 4 points under it. Then we have multi-factor authentication, that is MFA, and then account lockout, password storage, access controls, and so on. So you can just copy this response and paste it below the previously pasted content. So after this verification criteria, we can just paste it and just do the normal formatting. So our functional template is almost ready and we have covered almost all the topics here. If you want details for other examples, you can ask ChatGPT to create so, as we have done for the other examples. So this is the final requirements template after doing the formatting of all the points. So as you can see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and in the fourth functional requirements we have highlighted this. We have a use case. Then we have an epic where we ask ChatGPT to provide us user authentication rules. Then we have a user story and the other points for functional requirements. Similarly, for non-functional requirements, we ask ChatGPT to elaborate more on the first point, that was performance. So we have got the examples for it. And then later on we asked examples on response time. So here is that. Then we have other points in the non-functional requirements, and we have the epic level detail for CRM system and the remaining parts of the template. So that was it for this requirements template. So now let's have a quick recap of what we have covered so far in this session. We saw the different topics that comes under requirement templates from the software engineering perspective, like functional requirements, non-functional requirements, project objective. Then we saw the stakeholders and so on. Finally, we went through a demo for creating requirements template using ChatGPT and a Word document altogether. So that was all about the session on creating requirements template using ChatGPT. In the next session, we will learn about creating user stories using ChatGPT. Stay tuned. Thank you.